Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Here's a headline from Cointelegraph. World Economic Forum 2022. Ripple CEO reveals he visited SEC several times before lawsuit struck. Yeah, but by the way, Attorney John Deaton has something to say about this too. I'll share with you in this video what that is. But I've got some updates from a number of things that happened yesterday, actually. I kind of compiled a few of these things, including Brad Garlinghouse, what he had to say on national television when he was grilled about what's going on with the SEC versus Ripple case, how should XRP be classified, and what about Christine Lagarde, who is the president of the European Central Bank. What about her saying that all cryptocurrencies, all of them, so that would include XRP, folks, all of them are worth zero. They're worth absolutely nothing. He was asked about that as well. Plenty of interesting stuff to cover in this latest Moon Lambeau Hot Jab. But before going further, I would like to be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. In we go. This is the Cointelegraph article. Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of cross-border payments company Ripple, spoke during a panel discussion Monday at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Garlinghouse, who also occupies a role as a member of the company's board of directors, commented on a wide range of topics, most notably the current status of regulation in the United States versus G20 nations. And by the way, if I could just mention something here real quick, and I can because it's my channel, damn it, and I do what I want. There was something circulating on Twitter I saw, I don't remember who saw it. I don't think there was ill intent, but there was some false information getting circulated that Brad Garlinghouse had joined the board of directors of the World Economic Forum. And that was a misunderstanding of the way that a sentence was written, which was just describing that Brad Garlinghouse, in addition to being Ripple's CEO, he's on Ripple's board. That was it. So I saw that heavily circulated. I was like, that's unfortunate. So I don't think anybody was trying to mislead anybody. I think it was just read incorrectly. So not the end of the world, but I thought I'd take a moment just to clarify that since I saw that false information circulating pretty widely yesterday in particular. Anyway, piece continues. Emphasizing the prudent necessity for regulatory frameworks that serve integral principles of clarity and certainty, Garlinghouse stated his belief that, and this is a quote from him, the overwhelming majority of people working within the crypto industry are good actors that want to do right by regulators. But when the rules of the road aren't clear, it's very difficult to manage within that, end quote. And later in the conversation, Garlinghouse revealed that he personally went to the United States Securities and Exchange Office, quote, 4 or 5 times in the years leading up to their decision to file a lawsuit, end quote, stating that there is no justification for legally categorizing the Ripple-associated asset XRP as a security. And here's another quote from Garlinghouse. It demonstrates how out of step the United States is with the G20, end quote. And then he argued that Switzerland, Singapore, the United Kingdom, and Japan are nations with more favorable regulatory environments for cultivating technological innovation. Yeah, so why aren't these other countries where there is that clarity, why aren't they having the same trouble that we're finding here in the United States? Because it's observably true. And I just don't know how you, if you were the SEC, unless you're speaking to a bunch of uninformed people, then you could trick them, I suppose. But outside of this, I don't see how you can say with a straight face that there's regulatory clarity when every market participant, and I do mean like about 100% at least, if it's not literally every, then it's like 99.999% of market participants in the United States all believe that there is not sufficient regulatory clarity. In fact, actually I can think of an example. The only one who thinks that SEC is doing a great job, in fact, would be Ethereum co-founder Joseph Lubin, because he got his Ethereum free pass before. So, hey, they're doing a bang-up job. Yeah, great clarity. Doing a fantastic job. So there's like a human that thinks that. I don't even know that he actually believes it. He's just publicly saying that. And then, so here's what Attorney John Deaton had to say about that. He wrote, what's most important to note about Brad Garlinghouse's multiple trips to the SEC is that the very first time he was informed the SEC had determined XRP was a security was less than 4 months before the lawsuit was filed. So, folks, think about this. If it was so damn clear the whole time that XRP was a security, how come Brad Garlinghouse wasn't told by the SEC that it was until 4 months before the damn lawsuit was filed? If it's so obvious, you just say it. My gosh. I mean, do you really, SEC, did you really let market participants get damaged by this unregistered XRP security for the better part of a decade when you knew it? You knew that it was unregistered and it was harming investors. You just allowed it to happen? Come on, folks. Come here. And then there was this. Here's a tweet from the Prime Minister of the country of Georgia, who tweeted out the following. Here, I'll actually make this picture full screen because he met with Brad Garlinghouse. Here's a picture. And so anyway, the Prime Minister, whose name I can try and say, I'm going to butcher it, Irakli Garabashvili. That's about as close as that's getting. Anyway, he tweeted out the following. Great talks with Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse shared Georgia's vision on future of blockchain and regulation. With business-centric environment and innovative approach, we aim to evolve as a tech and innovations hub. Shared Georgia's story as the first country to bring blockchain in public services. So it's nice to see that there are countries with people higher up that do understand that blockchain is here to stay. And there's a reason that people in high places regularly meet with Ripple CEO and other top executives at Ripple. And don't forget, XRP is at the core of everything that Ripple's doing. They're the largest XRP holder on the planet, which means they have the most to lose, which also means that they have every financial incentive in the world to ensure the long-term viability of it. But anyway, now Brad Garlinghouse, he was asked about Christine Lagarde, who was in the news just a couple days ago for saying that all cryptocurrency is worthless. In fact, here's the headline from Forecast News. Cryptocurrency is worthless. ECB Christine Lagarde. And I only need to read one sentence from this article. Here's the money quote from her right here. This is the quote from Christine Lagarde, president of the European Central Bank. Here's what she said. My very humble assessment is that cryptocurrency is worth nothing. It is based on nothing. There is no underlying asset to act as an anchor of safety. Oh, there's no underlying asset to act as an anchor of safety. You mean kind of like the United States dollar? Kind of like that, which is the world's global reserve. It's just on trust and faith and hope because that's what money is. That's the first thing you should say about money, is that it's a trust system. Nothing backing crypto. That's the reason. So humans capable, perfectly capable of having a trust system around something as long as there's a central entity, but humans incapable of having a trust system of an asset like a cryptocurrency if there is no central authority. That's when the trust system no longer works. Oh, okay, because reasons. So anyway, I retweeted that article and I wrote the following because this is a huge statement that ECB President Christine Lagarde made. And so I wrote, wow. An asset class worth $1.3 trillion is actually worth $0. Crypto makes business models possible that otherwise could not exist. That's worth nothing? Her statement will age like a fine milk. I don't know how people can't get it. It's so clear to see. Because look, when I jumped into crypto in late 2017, my aha moment came very early on. I can't remember if it took a week or two, but I figured out, I was like, wait a minute, whoa. You're telling me that there are business models that will make the lives of businesses and people in general better. The business models can exist that could not exist without decentralized cryptocurrencies. You're telling me that's a real thing? Well, once I discovered that, I was like, whoa, that's the moment for me where I said, crypto's never going away. And for other people, they have different aha moments where they think about it for a sufficient amount of time and look into the nature of cryptocurrencies, and they realize this is just it can be a better form of what fiat currency is trying to do. So other people have their own strong beliefs, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. I've actually, the more time has passed and the more I've thought into it and seen real world adoption, the more I'm persuaded by those arguments, to be honest with you. I'm just saying that the first one that got me where I no longer had a question as to whether or not cryptocurrency as an asset class will continue to exist is when I had that aha moment, and it was because of XRP. I recognize as long as there is a problem being solved, even just one for the entire asset class, frankly, crypto's not going away because that's value, and humans aren't just going to volunteer to chuck value out the window. Value is different than price. If an asset like that can value, then yeah, it's here to stay. And if it's an asset that can be traded in open markets like XRP is, then money flows into those assets that have value. It couldn't be more obvious. Legit, it could not be more clear. And so even if I'm wrong in terms of all the cryptos I'm betting on and different their developments that beat out XRP or any cryptos, okay, fine. But I'm still right about the idea that the asset class is valuable on the whole because it can do things that otherwise would be impossible. That part is obvious. I'm more sure about that than I am of XRP, and I'm very confident in XRP to this point, certainly. But the asset class itself isn't going away. So to see something so ignorant from ECB President Christine Lagarde, it's not going to age well. And then there was somebody responded to me named Sean. Shout out to you, Sean. Responded to my tweet there and said, feels like deja vu, and shared this headline. Here, I'll make this full screen for a sec. Shared this headline from Newsweek from February of 1995, over 27 years ago, and it was titled "The Internet Bah." And it was pretty ridiculous. It was talking about how the internet, it's nothing but this overhyped thing. And, it's never going to just be this nirvana because, and people, they're still going to want to meet in real life. You can't replace communication online with what happens in real life, as if that was a thing anyway. But what's funny? I actually read through this entire article. I found it. Here it is right here. I read through this whole thing because it sounded so fascinating. I did enjoy reading through this thing, just looking at this ancient article from 1995 that basically was like, the internet, it's no big thing. It's not going to ever be a big thing. And what's funny is the internet ended up being even bigger than the hype was about it back in 1995. Yeah, tons of hype in 1995, not living up to it. But I'd say today, in 2022, the internet is bigger than what that hype was. I mean, if you told people that you could just have basically a computer with the sum of all information mankind in your pocket at all times, at your fingertips, because that's what the internet effectively is, Google anything you want, use your search engine. And you could also use that tiny computer, which is a phone and so many other things, and you could get an Uber, it's amazing, and connect with people on a moment's notice. It's not that phones or the internet some sort of replacement for in-person communication, but it still can bring people closer together, and many times it does. Yeah, you just got to make sure you have a balanced lifestyle still, but geez, it's a force for good. It's much bigger, but the reason I say all that is so I can point out what's going on with cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. It's overhyped to this point. But that doesn't mean that if you fast forward another decade or two or however long it takes, it doesn't mean that the promise isn't going to be at least that great or greater. It certainly can be. And I suspect that it will be. It's probably going to at least match the hype at some point in the future, if not be even greater. I mean, I suspect it's probably going to be even greater than what we recognize now. So to have somebody like Christine Lagarde say what she's saying, okay, well, you're like the Newsweek writer here. You're like it. It is what it is. Some people just are not as visionary as others. But Brad Garlinghouse gets it. And I want to share with you something. So this is from CNBC. I actually transcribed this video clip. It's really interesting stuff because he's getting asked about, he was getting asked, fair questions, but tough questions by the host here. And it was about XRP and Gary Gensler and how they're getting attacked. And, aren't there too many cryptocurrencies because there are like 20,000 of them now? And so the host asked Brad Garlinghouse about his take on what Christine Lagarde said about cryptocurrencies being worthless, literally $0. That's what she says they're worth. And Garlinghouse said the following. This is the quote. In my judgment, this is an industry that is not going away. It's valued today at about $1.2 trillion, $1.3 trillion. But I do think, I've spoken to Christine Lagarde personally, and I think we need to stop measuring it just by what's going on with the overall value. And how are these assets being used to solve real-world problems? I think time and time again, we're seeing more and more real use cases solving real scaled problems where blockchain technologies can reduce friction measured by cost and speed in a way that I think improves the overall economy. And then the host jumped in and said, does the fact that these 19,000 cryptocurrencies have been largely used as speculative assets do damage to the underlying case that you're arguing for? So let's pause to note, for those of you unaware, there really are close to 20,000 cryptocurrencies at this point in time. So the host said 19,000 there. And asking, does the fact that many exist, does that do damage to your case? Because again, Brad Garlinghouse, he's arguing for utility. Do you need 20,000 cryptocurrencies? And I've long said the answer is no. I've said that from my early days in crypto. You don't need a new form of money for every single business idea that could exist. No, you don't. That's obviously true. And so here's what Brad said in response to that. I think absolutely yes. So to note, again, he was asked if the fact that there's so many currencies, if that damages the case that Brad Garlinghouse is making, and Brad says yes, as in it does damage the case that he's making. And then he said the following, and it's frustrating. I said, when there were about 2,000 cryptocurrencies, and you stated correctly that there are now 19,000 today. But I said when there were 2,000, I got some heat from the crypto market by saying that something like 99% of them would go to zero, and that wasn't a popular statement, suggesting that only 20 would be around. Well, now you have 19,000. My prediction, at least for now, has moved in the wrong direction. But there are some tokens out there that are focused on solving a problem, and those are the ones that I can see being used in the future, and we can give a number of examples, and some of them are present here in Davos. But there are ones I look at, I hear the description, and I don't get it. And I think there is risk, as Christine Lagarde commented. They are speculative, they are risky, but that doesn't mean there isn't real opportunity. And so that's the quote. So, clearly, and this is fine, Brad Garlinghouse didn't want to throw Christine Lagarde completely under the bus. He's just focusing on his core message, which is true. And I do think he's right that the vast majority of these cryptocurrencies will go to zero. And so why haven't we seen this yet? Well, there are so many reasons. There's currently a frenzy around the asset class. It's not clear which cryptocurrencies deserve to be here, so people continue to bet on this. And there's a third factor that you didn't see during the dot-com boom and bust. It's like the first two things I decided, it was around in the dot-com boom and bust, but now we've got the internet, we've got internet-based communities, and communication's different as a result. So you have real communities supporting all sorts of different cryptocurrencies, and I think it's resulting in them living longer, some of them longer than they probably should. So it can be a good, I'm not saying that people should be able to do this, of course. I'm just positing the idea that community is a factor here. There's an XRP community, and I think it's healthy. Look, and still, markets are still going to figure this out, so it won't matter in the end. Either things are valuable or they won't. Eventually, there's going to be a day of reckoning. So I don't mind that there are communities out there supporting things that they think make sense. Let the market figure it out. That's freedom. That's awesome. I love it. I'm just citing it as a third reason as to why we're seeing this drag on longer in terms of having a final implosion here than what we saw with the dot-com boom and bust. It's taking longer in part because of that reason, I speculate. And then the host jumped in and said, I find this conversation refreshing. We've spoken to so many crypto experts who know nothing about this, who just want the gamification of this. They want to encourage people into various Ponzi schemes. I hear what you're saying. We're great fans of what blockchain technology can do. But just to categorically say, you think most of these products are just going to disappear and investors are going to lose their money over the coming years? ? And Garlinghouse says, I think there is a high risk. Well, certainly when you say most, meaning more than 50%. Then the host jumps back in and said, there are 20,000 now, referencing 20,000 cryptocurrencies. So he changed his number from 19 to 20,000 now. And how many fiat currencies are in the world? About 180? Which I'll just pause to note is kind of funny. 180 forms of government-issued money, roughly, and about 20,000 different cryptocurrencies. Folks, we don't need this many forms of money. It couldn't be more clear. You don't need this many cryptocurrencies. There will be a reckoning, but it's fine. It's a messy process, but it'll get figured out. We're just here super early. But again, I'm happy that that's the case because that means there's still incredible opportunity here, which is why I don't get in and out of positions. I just hold. And if a bunch of my stuff goes to zero, okay, fine. I won't sell unless I'm sufficiently enticed because it becomes too big a percentage of my overall net worth, or it's it's okay to take profits, and I will. I'm just saying in a general sense, I'm going to be patient, right? And then Brad Garlinghouse says the following: look, I think there are clearly examples where these can be used. What Ripple is doing with our digital asset and our technology stack called XRP is solving a cross-border payments problem. And that cross-border payments problem is something that we've all experienced. When you're moving money across borders, it's slow and expensive. There is no reason that we can use these technologies can't use these technologies to solve that problem. And the host says, I hear you, and you know what? I think more regulation and we can all know better. Why don't you want more regulation on XRP? Why are you in a big fight with the SEC's Gary Gensler that's just going on and on? Which is a fair question, right? And Brad Garlinghouse said the following. While it is going on and on, that's frustrating. Gary Gensler was quoted as saying, "Justice delayed is justice denied." Yet at every turn, the SEC has been slowing this one down. Look, we were the ones advocating for years that we needed regulatory clarity in the United States. And then for the SEC to say, even though it's not clear, we're going to bring a civil lawsuit saying that XRP is a security, we find that a bit ironic. I'm actually advocating for regulatory clarity. And I will note, yeah, it's certainly ironic that out of all of the participants in the crypto space, if you look back over the last roughly decade, like Ripple was the one the whole time screaming, we need regulatory clarity. We need it. They've been screaming it the loudest and the longest. And that's why it's ironic that they're the ones that get attacked by the SEC in these earliest of days. Okay. And then a host says, and because again, Brad said, I'm actually advocating for regulatory clarity. And then host asked, and not for XRP to be a security? And Garlinghouse said, I think most crypto assets are not securities, and I think they are clearly commodities, and they are regulated. I mean, when people say, as Gensler has, that this is the Wild West, that is not true. We are a regulated company by many regulatory bodies today, and outside of the United States, you have the regulatory clarity. Brad Garlinghouse, knocking it out of the park, per usual. He's right, and I think that let time pass, we will be proven to be on the right side of history. And as long as XRP continues to solve real problems for real people, it's never going to be worth zero. Doesn't mean it can't go down with crypto markets because it's moving in tandem, and currently it is. You know, look, equities have gone down, crypto has followed, XRP has followed Bitcoin just as every altcoin does. It's not rocket science, but it's still in its same relative position at the time I'm recording this of number 6 in market cap. That's where it's been for a while now. And that's arguably at a suppressed price thanks to the SEC. So there's so much opportunity here. I'm so thankful to be here this early on in the world of crypto. Because the everyday person, I firmly believe, can achieve life-changing wealth. I really firmly believe the opportunities out there. And we still need to acknowledge all of the risks because it's hard to overstate the risks. The risks are real. They're very much there. But my gosh, what about the opportunity too? I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.